Trump has put a lot of pressure on Powell and the Fed. Hasn't worked so far. And the big, beautiful bill, now you can take 100% depreciation, meaning that you could depreciate far more in terms of the value of the asset. That's another advice. You have to be specialized. You can't be a generalist.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast, Alba.
It's been a year and a half.
Yeah,
Last time we did this was right before Passover in 2024.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So it's been a while. So much has happened since then.
Yeah. So like last time when we filmed it, it was under other podcast name, which is From Forward. And then I think recently, like 6 months ago, I uploaded it to YouTube. It's always been on Spotify. But people probably just seen it recently be uploaded to YouTube. But yeah, cool. This time I want to kind of touch similar topics, but go further because we only did it. What was like an hour or something last time?
It was 45 minutes last time.
Yeah. So I definitely want to try to do at least an hour and go into more topics and hopefully do this yearly.
Yeah, I think we'll just take a deeper dive. Last time was more of an introductory or more of a philosophical thing. We didn't get into specifics, but I think this time we can really do it. And again, last time was right before Passover, and tomorrow your youngest brother is getting married, Yehuda.
Yeah.
So it's the eve of a wedding coming up, which is a significant event for the family, a huge event for the family. So we always do it at the special times. So
yeah. So I wanted to also on this podcast, a lot of people are asking me want to learn more about real estate,
right.
And a lot of people, it's getting a lot more popular now. A lot of people are trying to get their foot in the door, and it's very different than when it was when you started 30, 40 years ago. Like deals are not penciling out as much, so it's a lot more complicated with the high interest rates. So I kind of we'll get into all those little details, but I guess we're gonna kind of just backtrack to the beginning. And kind of if you had to summarize what you've learned in 40 years of real estate, what was the biggest lesson you've learned?
Or not 4 years, 42 years.
42 years.
Yeah,
so in the past 42 years.
It's only 42 years. 4 decades. But
so what have you learned? What were the biggest lessons you've taken away so far and in the past 42 years?
I think the number one requirement is patience. You have to be really patient. Number two is it's hard work. It never stops. I mean, I was in the gym this morning, like my usual routine, and 2-3 phone calls come in from team members. And, this one is going to leave. He doesn't get a bump. And then the guy who's asking you to give him a bump, he himself is kind of hinting that he needs a bump. And, then other problems come up, in operations. Nobody wants to talk about the issues. Everybody wants to talk about the good stuff, but it comes with a tremendous amount of hand-holding, a tremendous amount of detail. Long hours, and it's nonstop. So you have to know when to really stop it. So you have to have a lot of patience. We have to be able to have the ability to work hard. It does not run itself. You're going to have wonderful people, and the company today, we have assembled the best team ever. It took me a long time to do it, and we've had people who've been in the company now as long as 24 years. I mean, we have numerous people. And it's a skill set to keep your best people. But even if you delegate, and I do a lot of delegation, you still have to overlook what your team does because they're not yourself. You're not you. If they were you, with all due respect to what wonderful people we have, they would be starting their own company. So people don't want the headaches. They'd rather, make a lot, be well paid and compensate and get bonuses and not have the liability and the hassles. So at the same time, it's very, very rewarding. You have to love what you're doing. I do very much enjoy what I'm doing. And you have to be an expert at it. We are the best in class today. We are experts in multifamily, period. We do it better than most people do. Many, many other asset classes have come our way to get involved with, whether it's been office or industrial or retail. And I've had the discipline to be highly specialized. That's another advice. You have to be specialized. You can't be a generalist. And you have to really grow in your space in what you do. And then people bring you other kinds of deals like venture capital. Today, AI is cutting edge, leading, et cetera, to be tech deals, to be biotech deals. That's for, we'll talk about that at another sector of the podcast. So market timing is very, very important. We are right now in the middle of a pretty tough cycle. Last 3 years because of rising interest rates, a lot of people have gotten clobbered. When we did this a year and a half ago, it was just starting. Uh, it was getting intense, but it's gotten a lot more intense. Banks are quietly selling notes or quietly selling their deals without taking the real estate back. So everybody was waiting for the last 3 years for all these fantastic opportunities to come up, and they didn't really come up. Everybody waited for them, but a lot of them got done quietly. And the transaction volume has been down. I would say comfortably 70%. It's gone up this year because people are ready to see the light at the end of the tunnel now. Rates have
Mhm.
calmed down a little bit, not enough. And still, there's a lot of hesitation for people to get in. But I think anybody who bought in the past 2 years and bought well, and bought cleverly at higher cap rates, at like 5.5 cap rate, a 6 cap deal. We did a few deals, and we know that we're going to do really well in the future because a lot of people, I think, probably 80-90% of the institutions, private equity space, were on the sidelines, even though they had billions of dollars of capital. They
There's
did
what,
not
they're
really.
waiting for the rates to come
They,
down?
yeah, they didn't deploy because they didn't want to lose their jobs. They didn't want to make a bad decision. They couldn't sell it to an investment committee. They go into IC, which is an investment committee, and they have to present a deal to all the executives, and they want to lose their jobs by recommending a deal. So those deals didn't get done, and they were right. Rates did go up. The 10-year Treasury. If you talked to me 3 years ago, uh, it was like 2%. Today it's 4.37. Last I checked yesterday, I haven't checked the 10-year today. It got as high as 5, and it was pretty frightening. And a lot of guys who've had loans with rate caps, they've gotten caught with substantial, huge amounts of reserves that the lenders like Fannie, Freddie, or even the debt fund guys and the bridge line guys are taking from them. And if you didn't have strong savings and resources and good operating properties, your interest rate went from 3.5 to 8.5, 9, 9.5 in some cases. You had that rate cap. If you don't have a rate cap, you're done. You're toasted. You're finished. And people, it did happen to a lot of people quietly. There was portfolios lost that no one even knows about. But I hear it left and right. A lot of younger, syndicators got into the space, 5 years ago, before COVID, even 2018, 1917 was high to the market. And we've seen deals come on the market now where people are selling 7 years later, 8 years later at a loss, a total equity wipeout, or they're selling it at $1 or $2 million less than what they paid for it. Obviously, we're not doing that. We've stayed away. Thank God, our portfolio has stayed very strong because we've been very disciplined in not just being a deal junkie and buying any deals. And a lot of guys got hammered. I think this cycle, definitely last 3 years, for me at least, or from what I observe, I've seen 4 or 5 of these by now, starting from the 1980s to the 90s, S&L crisis, to the dot-com bubble in 2000, and then the Great Recession of 2008-9. At least then, prices came down. They came down 30, 35%, 50%, and rates came down. And people say, okay, this is the bottom. Everybody jumped in and started buying. But today, the last 3 years, people couldn't call the bottom. And they didn't want to transact because the rates were just jumping all over the place. And I think COVID and the pandemic would give a great boost in the beginning and then cause a tremendous amount of inflation, or even confuse the Fed. They didn't know what to do with rates. And they acted too late. Then they jumped in, they did multiple increases, and basically it just killed the market. And people didn't want to do anything because they were frozen. But if you have a long-term vision, you've done this as long as we have, and you're courageous, you could sort of project to the future, still multifamily is the best asset class. And we took the lessons that we had from the last down cycle, 2008-9, is no leverage or low leverage. And by that I mean,
Yeah, because a lot of people are taking
right,
like bridge loans, right, and losing
we
their
we
shirts.
closed a couple of deals where we put 45% down, 50% down. We didn't want a ballooning loan like a 3-year bridge, etc. If we didn't have an immediate way out of it. So that so we stayed out of leverage, and I think the second lesson we learned is don't take variable rate loans, even with a rate cap. It's a kiss of death. You have to really stay away from it. Now, if you're going into a declining interest rate market, and projections are now that the balance of this year, the Fed is going to cut rates 3 or 4 times. The first one, almost a 96% probability by September 13th to 14th of this year, 2025, they're going to cut that rate. And they're going to be 2 or 3 subsequent cuts because Trump has put a lot of pressure on Powell and the Fed, like nasty stuff on True Social. Too late, Powell. This that they're really pounding on him really hard, and it hasn't worked so far. But people are optimistic because of the tariffs. You've had at this point over $200 billion of tariff revenue to the U.S. The budget deficits are definitely going to come down, and it's projected that this year we could do $400 billion in additional tariff money, which is great because it'll bring down the deficit, and then interest rates will come down, and that's what people are really banking on.
Mhm.
So that's it's just a timing of the cycle. So in summary, it's been a bizarre cycle.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
nowadays I feel like people getting into space, especially in Miami, the past few years are like it's impossible almost to do a good deal for a deal to pencil out, and it's really hard to find a good one because of all the unknowns that are going on. And I'm curious how
Right.
bringing in tariffs, and Trump, the big beautiful bill, how's that? What's your opinions on that? Is that good? Is that bad? And
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest upsides of having President Donald J. Trump, I happen to like him a lot. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I admire him, and I pray for his welfare and safety every day because he's done so much, for the U.S. and for the Jewish community in general, and is bringing peace to the world. He's not a war president. He doesn't want wars. He's already negotiated 7 or 6 wars away in the last 6 months in such a short time, and he's about to hopefully end the war with Russia and Ukraine. That's a tough one to pin down, but I think he has an 80% chance of succeeding. And the same with Israel and Gaza. But back to that, he is a real estate builder. He is a developer. That's his background. He's a man of deals, so he understands that. And the big beautiful bill, to answer your question, back to the original question, is now you can take 100% depreciation,
meaning,
meaning that you could depreciate far more in terms of the value of the asset than you could before the big beautiful bill. And there's some other incentives that are thrown in there. I don't have the bill in front of me right now to really understand it, but it's going to create more liquidity in the market, meaning that there's going to be more money out there, more incentives, and depreciation is a big component of our business. We've done recently, last 3 4 deals we've done cost segregation studies on all of our large assets, and even gone back to stuff we bought 3 4 years ago and done a couple of those. So you could give your investors for the first 5 years accelerated depreciation. So we have these huge write-offs, and these are usable against for a passive person. You could use the passive loss against your passive income, and for somebody who is active like you and I are, we could use that against our active gains. So that's
mhm.
a beautiful component of real estate that the big beautiful bill enhanced. It made it much nicer, much greater, and it's something that no other asset class has. You can go buy stocks and bonds and invest in equities. Once you sell, you make a lot of money. You'll pay a capital gains tax. There's no depreciation to shield that up, and you cannot do a 1031 exchange.
Mhm.
Because when
Interesting.
you do a 1031 exchange, you could take your dollars and defer your tax
Just
by
rolling
buying
it.
another property, and then when you sell that property, you could go buy another property. So that's been always, everyone who's in real estate knows that you could do it at 1031 tax deferred exchange, and there's a tremendous philosophy. And that's not a philosophy, but an accounting method.
Interesting. So let's say somebody has $100,000 or $200,000. They're a successful doctor or dentist or lawyer,
Right.
and they're looking to, let's say, deploy capital into whether it's a stock market, whether it's into a business. And they're like, hey, why would I invest in real estate when I can put this money, I can put it into the S&P 500 and I get a more or less, over the past 100 years, I get a guaranteed, 7 to 10%. It's liquid. I can pull it out whenever I want. Why would I lock it up in a deal for 5 years? Or potentially put the risk in being an LP in a deal. So I'm curious, like, what you think are like the benefits versus that person deploying that into the stock market or into a business or private equity or whatever that might be.
Okay. So let's talk about the simple question. Let's say I got $200,000. What can I buy with that today? If you're in LA, you could buy nothing. So, because even a duplex costs $2 million, you can't put 5% down, and with $100,000. So let's say if you have $300,000-$400,000, you can go maybe for $500,000 you can go buy a duplex or a fourplex. Then you have to manage that property yourself, or your son, or your daughter, or your wife,
Deal with the tenants.
or your, I don't know, and deal with tenants all day long, and get the phone calls in the middle of the night. My toilet broke, and you didn't fix it. I have cockroaches. I don't know, my kitchen sink is stuck. All this kind of stuff. Fine. If you want to deal with that, that's great. Go do it. But once you have a vacancy in a duplex, or we have a 50% vacancy factor. If you have no tenants in duplex, you have a 100% vacancy factor. How are you going to service the mortgage? If you have a fourplex, you have one vacancy, you have 25% vacancy factor. So what we do is we buy larger properties. 100 units plus is our focus lately, even 200. The bigger, the better, where you scale the business up. So if you have 20, 30 vacancies, it doesn't make it that much of a difference because you're still 95% occupied. You're 97% occupied. And, basically, we shield our investors from getting those nasty phone calls and also from getting those lawsuits. The lawsuits, primarily in California now, it's become very prevalent that the minute there's a problem, there's mold, or there is a plumbing issue, or there is deferred maintenance issue, they hit you right away with a habitability claim. That is very, very prevalent, and especially in the past 5 years, since these draconian moratoriums, particularly in LA County, Southern California, were enacted, and they let this go on for like 4.5 years. Millions and millions of dollars of rent, probably $100 million of rent, were not paid, and people, smart owners, collected from the government, or they pounded the payment, worked really hard, worked with the tenants on a payment plan, and called them and said, "Hey, let's make a deal, this and that," and they got paid. But a lot of tenants didn't pay rent. So when it came time that you could now get evicted for not paying the rent, they said, "Okay, I owe $40,000. I owe $70,000." We had tenants like this. They owed $25K, 35, 40, 70, 75. They didn't pay that rent. So when it came time to paying, they said, "Okay, what can I do now?" I'm going to sue you for habitability. So not only that, I'm gonna end up not paying that rent, but you're gonna have to pay me 25, 30, 40, 50,000, $100,000 to go away, because there's plenty of attorneys waiting to do that. So if you want to buy on your own, be ready for that, because it's happening. So you have to have a team like we do, infrastructure. You have to have excellent service. You have to have, your maintenance sheets, your maintenance people. You monitor, you do everything properly, and you have to give excellent service to your tenants so you don't get this. So in our buildings, so if you have large complexes, we have 3-4 times a year now tenant events: pool party, Christmas party, Thanksgiving party, holiday party, whatever you want to call it. We do that. It creates a fantastic atmosphere. We spend a few $100, bring a food truck, etc. It creates goodwill. And we tell our people that they are in the service business. They have to take care of the tenants. They have to have a dialogue with tenants. And a lot of those claims can be nipped in the butt or prevented from becoming a lawsuit by giving people excellent service. And that's really our hallmark. So you could take that $200,000 we talked about earlier, invest it in one of our deals, or we'll call it 250, get a preferred return, first priority, have zero management headaches, nobody harassing you, and you have professionals running that for you. And instead of buying 100% of a duplex or a fourplex, now you are percentage owner of a large complex.
So
That's
I mean, it's
professionally run.
essentially for people that don't understand real estate, it's kind of like having a piece of a big pie, like a piece of a building. It's like having stocks in this
Right.
building.
Right. And other people are managing it for you virtually at cost. Because if you manage it yourself, you say, okay, I don't want to pay a 5, 4, 6% management fee, right? I want to do it myself. Well, your time is worth money. It's gonna take time for you to manage the building. You're gonna put out yourself at risk by having a dialogue with that tenant.
hmm
And whereas you don't have to have any of that. And because your time is worth money, obviously there is a cost for that.
Uh-huh.
So if we even charge a management fee, we're taking that cost away from you. We're bearing that. Obviously, the deal pays for it, but it frees up your time so you could take your time. If you are a doctor, you're an attorney, you are an AI guy, you're a high tech guy, you've got a huge business, you've scaled it up. You should do what you're doing well. Do more of it. Have more free time. And what our philosophy is bring the money. Let's preserve your capital. That's really our first objective.
And
You are wealth preservation.
And this can bring tax benefits to them also, right? Not just
Of course. Of course it can.
Okay,
So,
very very cool. No, I just also want to roll into kind of what you were saying before, with people not paying rent for like 6 months, a year, whatever it is here in California.
some didn't pay it for 4.5 years.
So I'm saying, let's say the same person would go to a hotel. Like, how is California allowing this? How is Gavin Newsom making this? Like, how is it possible where someone can go to a hotel? If you don't pay at a hotel, what's going to happen, right? You're going to get kicked out. There's no such thing as going to a restaurant and then leaving. It's called stealing. You go to a hotel, you stay there for a month, and then you get charged a bill. So it's interesting how California is also assisting people, in even people who could, obviously certain people who cannot pay the rent, that's a different story, but people who are getting paid, they have a job and they're choosing to not pay because they know legally they can get away with it in California. How are you guys going about dealing with that, and how is that also making you want to divest out of California?
So during COVID, what I did proactively, which I don't think anyone did to the extent we did it, is we created what was called a task force. It was composed of 2 or 3 people whose job was proactively collecting rent, having a dialogue with tenants, making payment plans, knocking on doors, sending emails, sending text messages, and proactively doing that. During COVID, for the 4.5 years that went on, we were consistently at 91% collections, to 91.5, sometimes 92, which is a pretty damn good number.
Mhm.
And we pursued all the available rental assistance programs. In fact, our people became counselors for our tenants in assisting them to apply for these programs. And millions of dollars of government assistance was given out when we had tenants get it, and then that paid the rent. And had we sat back and said, "Forget about it. We're not going to be proactive. It's the law. There's nothing you could do," we would have gotten hammered. I mean, I saw buildings that we were looking at in the past 5 years, 300 unit complex. They had Joseph, $3 to $5 million of uncollected rent. It's a joke. How do you let this happen? Why? Because they had these institutional owners had hired third-party managers like a Greystar or some other, or a Pinnacle, big firms, and they don't have the same love and care as a family office owner does, or a private owner, where they are accountable to their investors and to the friends and their families. Their credibility is at stake. They're not going to go at risk to kill themselves to collect this, but we did, because we have a fiduciary duty to our investors, and their benefit and their well-being comes first.
Mhm.
We're responsible. So we did some we didn't have such numbers, and nowhere near that. Do we have write-offs? Absolutely, we did. But it was also an opportunity for us to buy tenants out, forgive rents that they hadn't paid in rent control buildings, and even give them some money to go because we rented that unit for far more money than what they were paying. So that was the challenge there. Today, our portfolio is consistently across the board 98 to 98.5% collected. That's a substantial increase from the COVID years. And we have weekly calls that I chair in the company every single Friday. If I can't do it on
Yeah,
Friday, I'll
those
do
are
it on
fun
Monday.
calls.
You've seen it many times. We have an hour to hour and a half. We go over our results regionally, by city, by county. We do all the percentages, and then 50 people plus are on the call. They're asked to basically explain why they have a few vacancies, why they have an elevated delinquency issue. They have to cover all the answers, and then the regionals chime in, and then that all ends. And we exchange ideas, and then we have a section on the latest news that affect the industry. We do some other industries. We talked about the markets, everything else, and we talk about the world and how everything is getting affected. And then people can bring in videos or pictures from a vacation they took, or something personal they want to share with a group. And it's just like it's like a community we created inside our company, and it's brought down our turnover way down, and it's basically shows people that no matter where I'm at, whether I'm traveling anywhere in the world, whether I'm in Israel, I'm in Paris, or I'm in Italy, or I'm here to come to see you in Miami, or I go to our New York office, or I go to New Jersey or New Jersey properties, we still run the call.
Hmm.
And they love seeing that there's a guy sitting on top, he's the owner, and he's like one of us. He's always working. He's watching his portfolio. People like that. And they're getting guidance and getting help. So that's how we overcame those challenges.
Hmm. And then I'm curious. So you went over going back to the first question I asked you. Your advice from 42 years of real estate. You said the first thing is to be focused on one specific thing, to be specialized, right? Like you're specialized in multi, but to be specialized in one thing, not doing like a million things where your head's all over the place and you're not really focused and tuned in. The second thing you said is patience, right? Because a deal could take, you have your money tied up there for many, many years until you get a refi, until the deal starts doing money. People can not see any results for a while, depending on
Right.
when they're buying, especially now. Um, there's a lot of people who want to get involved in real estate on their own, and what are things they should look out for? Like, would you? I guess let me change the question. I'm saying when you started 40 years ago, right? You were saying that deals people were buying were cash flowing, 10% cash on cash. It was I don't
More. I
want
mean, when I
to
started 30 years ago, you could
say
buy the
20,
REOs and
right?
make a 20% cash on cash.
Exactly. So back then,
Yeah.
right, people bought these assets and they were cash flowing right away. Nowadays, like it's just the margins are so thin. There's so much risk involved,
Right.
especially people doing bridge loans and stuff. So I'm curious, like how someone can get their foot in the door, and where they should go find a deal. Should it be local to them? Let's say they're in Miami, they should look locally so they can manage it, or should they look in markets like Ohio, markets like Texas, where it's like $50K a door and they can get in easier? Like how should someone position themselves if they're young, they're ambitious, they're hungry, and they want to go and do deals on their own? They want to be a GP.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at the sources to get some inspiration from our holy books, if you look in the Torah, you look in the Gemara, the Talmud, it tells you that your nechasim, your properties, should be close to where you live. And also, when we do the grace for meals called Birkat Hamazon, after we eat bread, there's a blessing or a bracha that we give to our host. And we tell them that, basically, your nechasim, your properties, should be karov ircha. It should be close to you in your city. Why? Because if something is close to you, you can get there easily. You can jump in your car, get there within an hour or two, and you can solve a problem, and your eyes are on it. I know many owners today who still are of that ilk, of that philosophy, where they're totally hands on. We still have that philosophy in our company, so therefore it's important to do that. Today, you're not going to get a deal 20% cash on cash out of the gate unless you're buying a distressed property and it's empty and you lease it up and you do all this great stuff, you refi out, etc. But most stuff that we look at today, if you're lucky, you can find a deal with a 7% cash on cash nationwide. I haven't seen anything higher than that. 6.5 to a 7 is as good as it gets. But people start off as low as 2.5. But there's hope that they can take that 2.5 by renovating the property, by adding value, by managing it better, cutting costs, and being hands-on. They can elevate that over time to a 7 to an 8 or to a 9, and then refinance out between 3 to 4 or 5 years, return a lot of the investors' equity back to them. In our deals, our objective is, refinance every 3 to 5 years, where we can return our investors' money within the first 5 to 10 years. That's really our ultimate goal. There are deals we have, many of our properties, where we've given people back their money 10 to 15 times.
Wow.
A lot. 10 to 15 times, over and over and over again. And they're just getting these checks. Some of one of these deals for like 10 years, 20 years, some cases over 30 years. And the checks keep coming in. I mean, I was at a wedding 2 nights ago of a dear friend's daughter. He was one of my first investors. And this is when I first started. And he put $20,000 in one of my deals. And I had just started my second deal. And over time, he grew with me. And his latest check, the last one we got was like $400,000. So he's in 20 some odd deals. And he's made millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars. And he's got himself today a $10 million plus net worth comfortably. And I saw him at the wedding. He came up to me. He says, "Thank you for coming." We kissed each other on the cheeks. And he says, "I want to tell you something." And this was so touching for me, Joseph. It was so touching to me. He says, "I want to tell you in front of 2 of my friends here right now, you were an angel in my life." I said, "Why do you say that?" He says, "Because you came at the right time. I trusted you. I invested with you. And because of you, I can make this wedding tonight." How I felt that good? How much that made me feel good? So it's an awesome responsibility. It really is, that you could really, take your friends or people who get referred to you, make them into millionaires over time. I mean, it didn't happen with the guy overnight. He's been investing with me for over 30 years. But he sits today, very proud to say, he sits today in a call-out learning place. He's learning 5 to 7 hours a day. I have other investors with us for 25 years or so, a number of them. They're always traveling. So the checks keep coming in. They don't have to manage. Do they dabble and do a development deal or a house deal on their own here and there? Yeah, some do it, but they still invest. Because it's nice to have that freedom.
It's kind of the idea that everyone talks about, instead of like trading your time for dollars, right? Working a job that pays you hourly, you use that 9 to 5, whatever someone's making, whatever they're making a year, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever they're making, and instead of just using all that money and having to get back on the treadmill and make more, they set aside a set amount, just like you set aside 10% or 20% to give to charity. They set aside another 10, 20%, right? That's what you say. And you set aside that amount, and that, no matter what, goes to investing. So you don't even use that money. Even if it's tight, you save 10%, you put it into deals, 10% you put into a deal, and eventually they're like a bunch of little nuggets that then pay you. And while you're sleeping, that money's in deals and it's paying you, and it compounds over time. Same as in the market.
To go back to your question about investing in other states, if you're, let's say you're a California guy, or you're a Miami guy, you're a New York guy, you don't want to buy in those markets because the politics in California, and let's say in New York particularly, are pretty screwed up right now.
Yeah,
it's pretty messed up, I would say, in your street term. And you want to go to a red state. That's the hottest ticket right now. But you have to have the ability to manage that asset effectively. It's not easy that much. You have to realize you got to get on a plane, fly every time. There's flight delays. There's weather conditions. There's sitting in the airport. You got to rent a car. You got to go there. And, back and forth. You have to deal with jet lag, taking a red-eye flight, being tired the whole day. These are realities of what we live with. But we had a philosophy in our company that for the first 25 years, we did not invest outside California because we had a rule. That was the old rule. We want to have our properties within a 2-hour driving distance of the office. And we stuck to that rule for many years until the politics got pretty much on the left here in California. And we said, you know what, it's time to diversify. It's time to look at other markets. And then as you guys got older, the kids moved to New Jersey, New York, Florida. We started to come see you, spend time there. And I said, well, if I'm spending time here, I'm getting really comfortable with these places. I know that people now have the kids on the ground. So I had the old expression of boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So the boots on the ground became a big component. And I said, no, I felt comfortable doing it. So in the last 5 years, we started to expand to other parts of the country. We invest today in Jersey actively. We are looking at a large deal that we're about to win, hopefully in Pennsylvania. We've done transactions in Florida. We've done personal deals in Israel. And we continue to buy in California. We haven't stopped buying here. Why? Because today we have boots on the ground. And also the company is at a stage now where we have terrific people. Terrific people we trust and train who can parachute in, get on a plane, and get over there. Or we have great people in our offices, but we keep a very close watch.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're on your own, you don't have that company infrastructure. You don't have the mass or the people. It's harder for you to do it.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying you
could really have your tuchas handed to you. Right?
Yeah.
Just really handed to you. And I've seen it happen to a lot of guys because they just can't. They're just too far away from it. They don't have the right people. They don't have the right experience. And, some of the young guys, unfortunately, who started to buy for the first time in 2021, 22, those two particular years, or even the beginning of 23. And they took on these variable rate loans. They're levered up. They went to Alabama, or I don't know, all these, they went to Oklahoma, these secondary markets. They got hammered.
Yeah.
So, and people were throwing money at them because they're fantastic salespeople. They're good-looking guys. They dress sharp. They talk a good game, but they don't have any prior experience. So that's what happens.
Interesting. No, so because you see people buying these deals, they're like, oh, about 1,000 units, 1,500 units, 1,200 units, but it's really these markets like Texas, so these markets where it's like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a door. And it's also, like you said, hard to manage because they're probably third party managing it because it's totally out of state unless they build a big enough infrastructure, right?
Yeah. So what we're looking at today is I just wrote a business plan and I use AI. Actually, I was blown away because we were talking about these consulting companies. One company goes, you hire us $230,000. We'll write a business plan for you and. We'll give you a 300-page operating manual, this, that, and the other. You get to talk to the big dog
this is the
in
PVD?
the shop. I'm not going to say who, but okay. So whatever. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm going to give you $230,000. So for the kicks of it, I gave AI, just to try it out. I gave AI ChatGPT, advertising for ChatGPT here. I said, here's my history. Here's how many units I did. And I did it part-time. We bought 4,000 units that we own today. We've done more than that. We've done over 8,000 by now. But I did it in a part-time working because of all my other extracurricular activities, which we'll talk about later. And how did I do? And how do I take this portfolio tenfold into 35,000, 40, 50, 60,000 units, right? That's I want to do this in my lifetime. So I asked it this question. And it wrote an unbelievable business plan for me. And I couldn't believe it. And I said, okay, would you like me to tell you what to do next? I said, sure, tell me. So I said, sure, tell me twice. He wrote, I ended up with a 10-page business plan, which I sent to my team. And I told them that after the wedding, tomorrow, God willing, next week, we're going to sit down and I'm going to present to you with our 5-year plan. For the next 5 years, this is where the company is going. And here I have it in my hand.
This is all in ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, and I'm going to tweak it etc. But I had an idea that's what it was. And we can talk about what it said to do and how to really scale your company 10, 15 times fold. But it's kind of everything I kind of heard about, but didn't really sit down to write it down. But it's there. It's pretty powerful.
Wow.
Now, you got to, we did a private session with my wonderful friend who I admire, Willie Walker, owner of Walker Dunlop, who's our partner in 2 deals so far. He's a fantastic human being. And he gave me the privilege of spending an hour with him on the phone on a Zoom call. And he said that when he came to follow this company back in, I don't know, 2008, 9, he took it from a $25 million company at the time what it was worth to a $5 billion company. So I said, Willie, how did you do it? He says, first I'd gone and gotten jobs elsewhere. My father told me you can never come to the company, or you can come to the company until you've had at least 5 years of experience. I went on and had 10 years plus experience working for large companies around the globe, primarily in South America. We spoke Spanish, etc., like you do yourself. And I was able to learn how to scale a business. So when I came in, my father said, take my chair, my office. You're in charge. I didn't know anything about the business, but first thing I did, I wrote a 5-year business plan, and I told my staff, this is where we're gonna go. And people looked at me like I, fell from the moon. Like, what is he talking about? And you either subscribe to the business plan and the theory, or you didn't. But those who did reap the benefits, and he did it. But that comes with determination. You can't just come up with a plan and not do it. I'm talking to myself here. You gotta sit down the night before. I was talking to Aaron yesterday, your brother, the second brother. He's fantastic. He's worked very hard. All you guys work hard. I mean, none of you sit back. You could be trust fund kids, but you're not. Thank God for that.
Up at 6 a.m. working till
I know you are. So, but he says, I'm writing. I sit every night. I write down what I'm going to do next day. You know how important that is.
Yeah,
to be
you
organized?
and mommy taught that to us.
Yeah.
Like I been doing that since I've been 8th grade, and I've actually implemented a new technique called, because I used to write down 30, 40 things, and then the day would start, and I wouldn't be able to get everything down, and then I would push off to the next day. So there's a new method called the Ivy Lee method. For everyone listening, you can look it up.
Mhm.
It's basically you take the night before or the morning when you get to the office, 6 of the most important tasks that have to get done. The things that's going to push the ball forward that day. The most important things that have to be done, whether that's whatever that thing is for you, whatever business you're in. So I do 6 personal and 6 work. And then whether that's learning the DAF every day.
I've seen your notebooks. It's
so
amazing.
I go through them one a month.
You get it from mommy because she walks around with a pile of them.
Yeah.
Planning everything, and it's just because when you take a piece of paper, I can't do it on my iPhone or on my iPad because I'm from the different generation. But I've noticed that when you take that pad of paper and that pen and you start writing it, it gets done. It goes into your psyche, and the ones that are really important, you circle them. Like, this has to happen today. Circle the one, circle the next one, and then I end up beating myself up. Why did you not do this thing today? So you have to tell yourself, it's nice to make a plan, but are you willing to make the sacrifice to get the plan? And something I read in a book called Same as Ever, which is a gift from one of our good brokers, Kevin Green and Gary Harris, guys I admire a lot. We do a lot of business with them at IPA and Marcus Millichap, my old company where I got trained. It said in the book that part of working every day is reading a lot of information, collecting data in your head, becoming more educated, and then secondly is planning. Planning is part of working. Now, a lot of us don't want to plan. We just want to waltz into the office and boom, get started. And what happens? You can go into the office.
Just playing catch up.
Totally unprepared. Your secretary comes at you, Henry, sit down. I need to have, I want you to assign this thing. And then they bring this priority and that priority. And before you know it, an hour and a half has passed. And like, what am I wasting my time on? And part of our training was, from my brokerage days was is what you're doing right now making money during working hours? That's the first priority. Do what makes money first. And remember, don't be afraid of planning or studying or learning daily. That's part of your preparation. You know, Warren Buffett, he reads. I've seen a movie about him. I saw it on Virgin Atlantic one time, and I read about it. So he reads 4 or 5 hours a day.
Wow.
4 or 5 hours a day. That's this is information coming in. Today, you could easily, like you do and I do, and my son-in-laws do, and the boys, and even mommy does it now. Some of the girls, I'm going to get them into this. You could, instead of wasting your time listening to garbage or doing nothing, you could be sitting in the car today as you commute to work. You could be in the gym, on the treadmill, or doing weights. You could even be in a swimming pool by getting earbuds, and you could listen to all kinds of podcasts, thousands of them out there, millions of them out there. And you could basically give yourself a PhD. You can go through it. I do this all the time now. It's so enjoyable. It really opens up your mind, and it's good for you.
Yeah, early this morning when I came to the gym, you were on the treadmill watching a podcast.
That was this morning, right?
Yeah, it was early this morning. Yeah. No, it's true. I keep telling people
audiobooks. There's also audiobooks.
Yeah, also Spotify has books now. With the subscription, I have books and podcasts. So it's like you can listen to both. You can learn both.
No, I mean, you know, we talked about this on the last podcast. You know, people take out their phones and they're like Instagram. They're going through 1,000 feeds, you know, an hour. What is this garbage? What's that going to get you? It's entertaining. Instead of doing that, learn. I know.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I don't think I've watched TV in I don't know how many years.
No, I'm not saying learn all the time, but having dinner, you can have some nice romantic music in the background. You can put on some chill. You can go on XM, channel 66, 55, put on some candlelight, enjoy yourself, a glass of wine. That's a time for that.
Yeah.
But when you're on the run, learn.
No, when I have people tell me like, oh, I just watched another season or 5, season 6, season 7, season 8 of this TV show. I'm like, how do you have time to watch this TV show? So I realize it's all about, like, I have this new thing I always say on my WhatsApp status, make the time, make the time, make the time. And I realize that with everything, it's about making the time. So someone's watching an hour or 2 of TV every day.
Right.
Maybe that's their relief at the end of the day, but you're making time for 2 hours of that waste of time. You could be applying, let's just cut it in half, whatever it is. It's an hour of TV, 2 hours of TV. You cut that in half. You put an hour towards learning, an hour towards building a new skill, whether that's underwriting for real estate, whether that's reading books, whether that's trying to learn AI, whatever you're trying to improve in, and just chip away at that an hour a day, an hour a day, an hour a day, and that will build into something huge. Like you can start a whole nother company now using AI, working an hour a night, you know, building something else with whatever it might be. You could spend an hour a day working on a podcast. So it's interesting.
Are amazing. And it's for everyone's benefit to hear that you are amazing when it comes to organization and time management. I mean, you're a beast.
I appreciate it. I try. I'm always trying to improve it. There's always more to do.
A beast. This is incredible. I think you get it from, you know, from us. We did something right. I mean, I came last night. I went to picked up some of the kids from the airport because they flew for the wedding. Like Shlomi, my son-in-law, came in with my grandson Avrami. I picked him from the airport. I got home like 9:35. Hadn't had dinner yet. Family was sitting outside having nice barbecue, wine, etc. People didn't put family gathering, but you were sitting there on the kitchen counter. You had your Talmud, the Gemara out. You had the, Rabbi Stefanski with the podcast.
Yeah,
you were pounding on the table. You're repeating the words.
I have to make it. I make the time.
I admire that.
Every day I try to do the daf. Every day I try.
More young people should do this. Instead of sitting and putting all this trash in their head.
Yeah. No, if I make time for work, or I make time for family, or I make time to go to the gym, I feel like people should make the time to learn Torah. If they're religious Jew, it's like, it's the only thing, like, just like we always talk about the importance of building wealth in this world and getting dividends pay you and compound interest.
Right.
It's this world is beautiful, but we'll be here for what, 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, maybe 120.
We're gonna talk about that.
But we'll get into that right next. The next thing, but It's what are you gonna have in the next world? Like, what good deeds did you do? What did you learn? Like, that's really your wealth in the next world, and that's infinite. That's a
Right.
lot more than 10% cash on cash. That's like learning Gemara, learning Shas is
So,
a whole nother.
speaking of that, I've been attending some really fantastic conferences that I got invited to the last 5 years with some family offices, and I met some substantial billionaires, probably over 20 of them by now, and mostly Jewish. Some non-Jews as well,
We just met
but they
no
have Jewish wives.
the CEO of Cloudflare. He's worth like
Yeah, we
$75 billion
$75 billion
company.
company.
This-
Rubenstein was there. David Rubenstein, Carlyle Group. He's a $4.5 billion net worth. But what I did notice is, as wealthy as they are, number one, they're terrific people. They're super smart, and they solely rely on knowledge they get from the secular world, whether it's a Harvard education or a Yale education, or using their own wisdom. And these are very, very smart people. Nobody becomes that wealthy by accident. Let's be honest about that. But most of them don't have the benefit of Torah knowledge, of divine wisdom that we learned, through the Torah, and they look at everything from a secular prism, not from a lens of his spirituality, because ultimately Hashem, God, runs the world. All the knowledge is available to us, and when you use your own limited knowledge, and our knowledge compared to God is very limited. It's not infinite. It could be if you work on it. I don't think we even use 5% of our capacity or 5% of brain power. Most people don't. But if we did that, it could be so much more meaning to our life. We have such a better, more peaceful life, such better understanding by having a spiritual element in our life. And unfortunately, most of these people don't, because they don't know any better. There are a few who do. They're wonderful people. Highly respect them. I hold them in high regard. They could be so much happier because it's so much more than money. So much more than money.
Yeah, it's like family and meaning and purpose. There's a bunch of studies talk about people religious, whatever religion they're in, whether they're Christian, whether they're Jewish, whether they're Muslim. When they have a religion that gives them purpose, I think they're like 90% happier. There was like a whole study done on that specific thing. And you also see in the secular work world, like big guys, let's say like people in the podcast world probably know Alex Hormozy. He's huge. He's actually Persian, and he works 16 hours every single day, 7 days a week. And his wife also works 16-hour days every single day, 7 days a week, and they don't stop. And they're worth well over 100 million now. But she even says like, "Oh, I don't feel the need to have kids. I think my businesses are my kids, and helping my staff is my kids, and that's my way of giving." Everyone to their own perspective, but I feel like when they're
that's
40
really
or
messed
50,
up.
it's like what's
That's
going
what
to
the guy would say. It's messed up, right?
what's going to be left? Like at a certain point, like when someone's worth a certain amount, it's like what more can you do with this money? Like I feel like it gets to a certain point where it's ego. It's like when you can buy the house, when you can go on the vacation, and when you can do the basic things. At a certain point, it's like it just like becomes like people say your net worth becomes your self worth, and people start comparing, and it's crazy. You probably see people who are worth 500 million, a billion, 2 billion, saying they feel small compared to this person, and that's probably sounds crazy to the average person. But what do you think what do you think it is? You think it's a lack of meaning from family and from purpose,
It
or you
comes
think
down
it's just
in
comparison to
yeah,
the Jones,
yeah.
to the other person?
It comes on in Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our forefathers. That one who has two wants four, one who has four wants 6, 8, 10. It never stops. There's always somebody bigger than you, and the guy who's bigger than you is somebody bigger than him. It'll just never end. And I used to drive myself crazy. And mommy, thank God to my wife, helped a lot with this. Like enough, enough. Enjoy what you have. But say, who is a wealthy man? Comes on Pirkei Avot. Who's sameach b'chelko? One who's happy with what he has. If you're happy with what you have, then you're wealthy. If you're not happy with what you have, you could have billions. You're a very poor man. And people have to realize we don't take any of this with us. Nothing. I remember when Daddy, my father, your grandfather passed away. It's been almost 11 years now. We went to burial site to the Kivra to bury him, and they lowered his casket into the ground. I saw him pass away in the hospital. It was a surreal moment for me. And Aaron was there with me actually at the hospital, and I just saw he's gone. And then I started crying. I just broke down like crazy. And my rabbi was there, Rabbi Rebach. He comes in the room. And then some guy comes from the funeral service. And he says, okay, we're going to now do the procedure, etc. They came. I left the room. They took his clothes off. They washed the body. Next day, they lower him to the ground, the shrouds. And you see with your own eyes, nothing. Nothing goes with you. Nothing. You live for other people. And after you're gone, they start fighting over it. Hopefully not, if your kids are well trained. So we have to realize that all this toys, all this wealth, etc., it could be gone in a second. If God wants you to lose it, it'll go. I've seen it happen to people. I've seen people break. We can't take credit for it. We can't take credit for it. It's so scary. So you have to realize he's in charge. Very powerful.
Wow.
I mean, it kind of makes me emotional. Makes me very emotional. To speak about this, and it's real. This is what happens.
Wow. No, 100%. So I guess you see a lot. You see a lot of this. I probably see a lot of it. You have these very, very wealthy guys who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but they're this fat. They're the size of a seal. And yes, and they could probably hire a private chef and a workout and a trainer and this and that, but they don't. They choose to go to the office. They choose to do what they do. So where do you see that as an issue? And obviously, it's just I think it's a lack of maybe balance of like not prioritizing health and just prioritizing wealth. And I'm curious how you've balanced and made time for working out almost every single day, while being a religious Jew, a business guy, busy with a lot of different things. And I'm just curious why you prioritize it so much, and why other people should take it serious, even if they're not into fitness and they hate it, they
Yeah.
don't enjoy it.
First of all, what I do, and probably many of my peer group and colleagues do in the business, is very stressful. And for me, being fit and exercise is an escape, and it's a stress relief. But when you're in shape and you watch how you eat, you watch how much you sleep, you're cognizant of your health, and you go to the gym. But I swim a couple of days a week, 2 3 days a week, 45 minutes to an hour. I play tennis a couple of days a week, and I balance that with 3 days of weight training and also 3 days of running. So 6 7 days a week, I'm doing something. And this device, Whoop,
Yeah.
that I'm wearing, and there's other devices like this out there. It's really transformed my awareness and my knowledge into how important it is. Basically, it's cutting down on the alcohol. In our culture, there's always a l'chaim, there's always a kiddush, there's always a wedding, or there's always a bar mitzvah. Come, drink, this, that. Boy, this Whoop the next day, it beats you up. It says, because you have to be honest, you have to fill out this questionnaire every morning when you get up. How many glass of alcohol did you have? Well, I had 1, 2, or 3. Boy, then you push the daily outlook on it. The AI writes what happened because you answer all the questions. So now you've been accountable to yourself and to this little AI tool. And we'll talk about AI later. But you and now, okay, what did I do? I had 2 tequilas, glass of wine, this, that. And it tells you, you messed up your recovery by 20%. Then you can recovery score. Sometimes it's red, it's really bad. Sometimes it's yellow. And on a good day, if you slept enough, you worked out right, and you got 7 hours of sleep, whatever it was, you're green. You're 95%, 87%. It's a great feeling. That really makes you cognizant. So you have to realize that today I have the privilege, thank God, of being able to come home, play with my grandkids. Thank God, 19 of them so far, and one more on the way soon. Be'ezrat Hashem, God willing, and many, many, many more. And I could run with them. I could play with them. I could put them on my shoulder. I could dance with them. I could say, shoulder rides, Thaba, who's going to come next? You know how great that feels? To be able to bend, do squats, to keep up with these kids. You want to do that when you're in your 60s, your 70s, 80s, 90s, 100. It can't be done today. We've gone, how many times we've gone to Switzerland on a family vacation in the summers? At St. Moritz? Saw those guys and those couples. They're like 80 years old, 90 years old.
The Europeans are very fit.
Yeah, they got the climbing gear on. They're climbing mountains. They're hiking. They look terrific. They're fit. They're running. We should be doing that. Longevity, we say always it's a blessing we give each other. In our
long life.
In Judaism, we should have Admirav Esrim until 120. Admirav Esrim until 120. You could live to be 120. Obviously, Rosh Hashanah, hopefully God will give you one more year of a lease, a renewed lease on your life. It's really up to Hashem. It's all up to your actions, obviously. But if you do your part of it, you could have a long life. It can happen. Mm-hmm. And you have the discipline to do that. And you make better decisions in business. It's not acceptable if you can help it. If you don't have a health condition, people have health conditions, fine, don't have any control. Look great and feel great. You make better decisions, and people will trust you more because you look like a healthy guy. Mm-hmm. So that's something that, thank God, I've been able to transfer to you guys. You guys all work out.
Yeah, for me, it's more mental than like thinking about all the physical benefits. For me, it's like an hour in the day or 40 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever I have that day to sweat, work out, clear my head, and then it helps with my learning, it helps with work, and it helps with being a better father in general. Just, because you can go on an hour, 2-hour podcast on the benefits of working out, but that's not really what today's about.
That's right.
Okay. And yeah, I guess I wanted to just jump back quickly to real estate because I didn't get that one answer fully question. We went on a bunch of tangents, but for
the tangents are good.
Yeah, they're good. No, they're great. But for someone who's starting in real estate, who's young and wants to do a deal, first deal, what advice would you give them now for, let's say they want to go and raise money? How was your first deal? Because I know your first deal was I think you only put up like 10,000 or whatever it was. I forgot what the exact details of finding your first deal. I'm curious to help the younger people.
I think we covered this last time, but I'll say it again. There's a 16-unit building that I decided to buy in my brokerage days. This is 1993, 94. I think the purchase price was like $625. We still own that building, believe it or not. Only be refinanced, I don't know, 10 times, but we never sell the first property. That's the rule of the Talmud, the Gemara. And I think I had to raise 120 grand. I didn't have 120 grand back then. I think I put up 10,000.
Yeah, so that's why I want to slow down here. What was your mindset, right? So people say, okay, now you've done a bunch of deals, but like, what was the mindset of Henry Manicherry? His first deal, I got to raise $120,000. Like, that's very daunting. Like, every new GP is like, wow, I got to raise 200,000, 400,000.
Nowadays, it's not a big deal.
I know, but I'm saying what was in your mindset? Were you like losing sleep at night? Like, how am I going to raise this money? How did you present it to investors? I just want a good breakdown for everyone listening, for all the young business people getting involved in the real estate world, how they could start, how they can learn. There's a lot of younger people listen, like 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. Right. So I'm curious, what was your mindset? Were you like, this is so daunting? Like, oh my, how am I going to do this? Or like, you believed in the deal, the numbers were there, the proof was in the pudding, and you're like, I just got to present this, and God will help me bring in the investors. And yeah, that's
excellent question.
That's the
Love this question. Well, you hit a nice.
This one was from my buddy Josh.
Point. Okay.
He was asking.
So we're gonna ask. Shout out to Josh. We're gonna answer that question. So that first deal, I think I was in my early 30s, just had a couple kids. I didn't have 120 grand back then. I was making a okay living, and I had the weekend to come up with it because I signed the contract. It's a bank actually, Coast Savings, sold me the deal. I said, if I don't close it, it's not gonna be a pretty picture. So I just pounded, my brothers and my parents, and somehow we got the first money together, and I sweated it out. I was nervous. Believe it or not, today now, I saw a deal. I'll make a comparison. I toured the deal yesterday. 800 units, Southern California. One of the largest buildings I've seen in Southern California for sale. $330 million deal. And they asked me, well, wow, you're looking at this big deal. I said, yeah. I said, how much is the equity check? It's $110 million. So I was freaking out 31 years ago for 120 grand. Today, I could raise $110 million. I can raise more. But you know why? Because you have to believe in yourself. Number one, you have to have conviction. And you have to have faith in God. He's going to make it happen. He's going to send it your way. You just have to get out there, know your stuff, understand it well, be able to express your enthusiasm across the table when you sit with an investor, whether it's a high net worth guy, gal, family office, institutional investor. You have to convey your message. You can't have other people do it for you. Some people do. You could have a good sales team, but large capital raises today, private equity funds, they have a whole team of people that raise money. We've hired teams. I've hired teams before, and it's been most effective when I've done it myself. I've got to be there for the close, and still go through the same nervousness. Still got to get on the phone on Sunday. Like mommy comes and says, oh, you better, you have another $20 million left to raise. And what are you going to do? I said, okay, I'm going to work on Sunday. Going to work at nights. Still doing it. That's why I got to work out, because we got to be in tip-top shape. And it's hard work. But as you do it, your muscles get bigger.
No, very, very cool.
You can lift heavier weights.
And then
it's the same thing. It's
and
all
then I'm curious,
scaling.
That was back then, right? But what about nowadays when deals are not 20% cash on cash, 15% cash on cash? Like we said, they're like barely at 5, 6, 7. You think it's a lot harder now in 2025 for people to get their foot in the door compared to 30 years ago?
It is harder now, definitely, but it's never too late to start. Never too late to do a deal. You got to pick a market, a product type that you know and you understand. I had a young guy chasing me now for the last couple months. Met him at one of these Kiru camps in Montana. Terrific guy. He sends me deals. Come be a co-GP. He's based in New York, for example. Terrific guy, heart of gold, great intentions. He's just young. And he's sending me deals in Wisconsin that he wants to buy, and Chicago. I'm like, what the hell do you know about Wisconsin and Chicago? You're sitting there, in New York. What track record do you have? So you got to start locally. I think first it's better to be local. So you can have your hands on it and build a platform. Buy a small deal first. Start with a 10, 15 unit deal.
Yeah.
Go to your friends, go to your family, write down a business plan, a one-page business plan. People who trust you, and be honest, have integrity, work hard, be focused, work around the clock, not on Shabbat and holidays, obviously, but work around the clock. And then do a bigger deal after that. Take that 10, 15 unit, do a 30 unit deal, 50, 75, 80, 100, 200, 300, 400. It can be done. It can be. Plenty of guys are doing it. Right?
Yeah.
It's all a matter of scaling it.
You think it's also like a mix of mindset also and leaning on Hashem and leaning on God? both faith and mindset. Obviously,
We said this last
you have
time.
to know how to underwrite it.
Ambition is a great virtue. But ambition and anything you accomplish in life comes with a price. You gotta be willing and able to pay the price. Guys that have bigger portfolios than we do, there's plenty of them. I think they work harder than I do. Definitely. Because harbe nekhasim, harbe dagot. The more
Okay.
positions you have, the more worries you have. So if you want to get to be that big and you want to really scale up, be prepared to manage it.
hmm
It-
Okay, cool. And then
it's,
I have another question from someone
Sure.
else who asked in because I put on my WhatsApp status like anyone has specific questions. So a buddy of mine, Shimmy, he asked, have you ever faced anti-Semitism in business or the opposite, right? Situations where being Jewish actually helped get a deal done. And yeah, that's the question.
Okay, now we've shifted gear into a very interesting area. In fact, I just did a panel. You were there with me. We did it in the Hamptons in that wealth conference, a magnificent $100 million house sitting on the water. I chaired that panel, and we had some great experts. So I know a lot about anti-Semitism today. I wear a yarmulke all the time, as you know, as you guys do. I refuse to take it off because this is who we are. You don't like it? Too bad. Bring it on. That's my attitude. Bring it on. We're not stepping down. And I think the root cause today of anti-Semitism, and many people try to understand what it comes from, what the source is the following. The non-Jews in the world, the Gentiles in the world, they understand our role better than we know our role. They know that we should hold ourselves to a higher standard, that we are accountable because we represent God in the world. We don't even know it, but we do, especially when you wear a yarmulke. So we have to work on our character traits. And as you know, and the non-Jewish world doesn't really know this, and I think as Orthodox Jews, as observant Jews, we have failed miserably to convey to the world what Judaism is about. What is the Jewish Orthodox observant lifestyle about? All of our training, everything that is taught to us, everything we learn, everything we teach to our kids is about one factor. It's about our relationship with God, which is asmo hamakom, us and God, and two is horizontal, us and other human beings. And when it comes to our relationship with us and other human beings, we're taught that we have to be kind, that we have to be charitable, that we have to be compassionate, that we have to be responsible, that we have to be honest, that we have to have integrity, and we have to work hard, etc. And we are held to a much higher standard. And when we don't do our job, we don't hold ourselves to that higher standard, other people out there notice it. Righteous Gentiles, regular non-Jews, they notice it. That's why they get mad. Then why are you not doing your job? You just acting like everybody else. So we have to dress better, more modest. We have to dress nicer because we represent God, like it or not. That's who we are. We are Mamlechet Kohanim, a nation of priests. And I think we should, as a Jewish community as a whole, spend much more time, energy, and resources in showing the world what is it that we believe in. People see these distorted, horrific pictures of Gaza and the war, and Israel bombed this place, and Israel bombed that place. Israel never wanted to bother anybody. They just want to live peacefully in their land. They want to contribute wonderful things to the world. They don't want to kill anybody. We're the ones who are being attacked. But there is anti-Semitism in the world. For one reason also. Besides the reason we just talked about, another reason, not one reason, another reason is that people are envious of our accomplishments. How many Jews are there in the world today? 15 million?
I think it's 0.2% of the population.
Okay, what's the world population? How many billions?
8 billion, maybe?
8 billion? Okay, so we're at this. But we have a huge, gigantic impact. And that drives people crazy. Who are these people? Why do they have all this money? Why are they successful? Why do they have such beautiful families? And I don't. That's one other root cause. But if we come out, we wear our Judaism proudly, and we behave in a dignified, wonderful manner. I'll give you an example. Do we have time to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was very simple. I was on a plane coming back from New York on one of my trips, sitting JetBlue Mint. I got my nice seat. I'm sitting. A guy comes in with his wife. And I get a tap on my shoulder and says, "Sir, do you mind trading seats? I'd like to sit next to my wife. My wife's going to be sitting here. I'm over there in the front." I said, "Sir, pleasure. No problem. With pleasure." The guy just almost fainted. He goes, wow, thank you so much. This, that. I had my yarmulke on. They were able to see what a real Jew is. If I was wearing a cap, baseball cap, which many people do, which nothing wrong with a baseball cap, or I didn't have a yarmulke on, they couldn't see I'm an Orthodox Jew. And during the course of that flight, you know how many times they turned around and smiled at me? And they said thank you 3 or 4 times. That's what our job is. We have to show that. All the beauty we have in our life. There's another example, another story I read in an Army magazine a few weeks ago. The last head of OU, the last president of OU, I forgot his name, a dignified, wonderful person. He is at an airport, similar to my story, a little different. And he's at a counter ticket. We're about to get on. He's in first class with his fellow non-Jewish friend traveling. He has got his yarmulke on, and his non-Jewish friend is sitting with him. Is there. He notices that there's a lady trying to get on a flight with a daughter. The daughter has some special condition, and she doesn't have a second seat. And she needs to sit with her next daughter. They don't have 2 seats together. And she's negotiating, arguing, going back and forth with the ticket counter. And they're like, "No, we can't do anything. Can't do anything." "Oh, but do you understand? Oh my God, my daughter has, sorry, ma'am, I can't do anything." You know what the guy did? He went up to her and said, "Ma'am, stop. I'm in first class. My friend is in first class. I will give them my seats." The lady was speechless. So here's a guy, president of OU, God bless him, wearing a yarmulke with a non-Jewish friend, wonderful human being. They go in the back. They sit and coach. The friend turns around. He tells him, because of what you did today, I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. I'm so moved by this. Do you have an extra yarmulke? He goes, "Yeah, what do you need a yarmulke for?" He says, "I want to wear a yarmulke." He takes the yarmulke from the president of XOU. He puts it on his head, and he sits proudly next to him for the duration of the entire flight. And people came up to them, "Wow, beautiful, this, that." That's the answer to anti-Semitism. Yeah, you can go invest in lawsuits, sue Harvard. I don't know. You can go sue Colombia. Yeah, the money talks. You could, put money in defense funds. You could, go out there and speak to all this stuff. They need to see the beauty of Judaism. Now, back to your question. After all these stories, have I experienced it? Growing up in Iran, I would say, yeah, definitely. Here and there, people say it in comments, but I think it was last year, June 13th of 2024, when the pro-Palestinian groups came on a Sunday to Al Astora, our shul on Pico. The whole world saw it.
Yeah, right here on
Violence,
right here on
craziness.
Pico.
I went, got face to face with these guys. My brother came face to face. That was so ugly. It was so painful to see this. I saw people getting beat up. My brother is an EMT, Philip. God bless my brother. He was a beautiful boy, beautiful person. All the men got beat up, blood running out down this. It was horrible. So I saw that. And it's ugly. It's really ugly. And this is all funded by Iran, Qatar, and China. And Soros, Open Society, all these horrible people that do this.
Yeah, a lot of these protesters are paid. There's a lot of
They're all paid.
there's a lot of journalists out there. There's a lot of
afterwards.
journalists exposing them. They literally have paychecks in these massive
They
multi-million dollar
have a salary,
corporations.
$30 an hour. I saw the flyer that wanted to hire them. $30 an hour.
I went on the website to check it out, see if it was real. They have legitimate
Bonus.
jobs.
Medical, dental, 401k, the whole works. And they train them everything. And most of you are not even Palestinians. They're not even Arabs. It's pathetic. So we've lost the war on PR. Israel has. We need to step up our game. We need to show the world the beauty of Judaism.
Alrighty, amazing.
So,
I guess we'll wrap it up here because we're definitely
Okay.
past an hour. I'm not exactly sure how far we are, and I'm sure you got a lot of things to do.
We have to go to a wedding now.
All right, yeah. Right? Thank you everyone for listening to the YM show. This is the second podcast I do with my father. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. It really helps the little channel. Just subscribe and leave a comment. Drop a comment below. That also really helps. And drop a comment on what you'd like to know in the future. And we do around 3, God willing. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, Yosef. So proud to be your father. So proud of
Love
you.
you. Thank you.